means character features of features of developing countries, features of developing countries with special reference to special reference to India, with special reference to India. Features of developing countries, features of developing countries with special reference to India. Another important topic from this unit. So, what are the generally we discuss what are the main character features of developing countries? Number 1, low per capita income, low per capita income. Number 2, scarcity of capital, scarcity of capital. Number 3, demographic characteristics, Number 4, high incidence of high density of population, Number 5, unemployment is another important feature of developing country. Number 6, whenever there is unemployment, high incidence of poverty, Another important one, predominance of agriculture sector, Number 8, income inequalities, Another important features, low quality of life, technological backwardness, Number 11, dual economy, Number 12, price instability is the another important feature of developing country. So, what are the main features of character features of developing country? Number 1, low per capita income. Number 2, scarcity of capital. Number 3, demographic characteristics. Number 4, high density of population. Number 5, unemployment. Number 6, high incidence of poverty. Number 7, predominance of agriculture sector. Number 8, income inequalities, low quality of life, technological backwardness, dual economy, price instability is the these are the character features of developing country, special reference to India. These are the character features of Indian economy also. character features of developing countries like China, Pakistan, India. These are the general character features of developing economies, developing countries. Now, we are going to discuss one by one. What is low per capita income? The low per capita income leads to, that means there is a relationship between the national income, the size of the national income and size of the population. Size of the national income and size of the population. That means first one, low per capita income. We are going to discuss about this one, low per capita income. Okay. So, low per capita income. Populations, the size of the population, and size of the country's income, that is national income. These are impact on the size of the per capita income. Whenever there is a growth rate of national income is more than that of the growth rate of population, that means less population, high national income. That means whenever there is a low population, high national income, the per capita income, the level of the size of per capita income is high. Whenever there is a per capita income is more high, growth rate is more, that means per head income per year is known as per capita income. But if the per capita income increases, automatically it leads to the quality of life, the rate of saving. The rate of saving increases, capital formation increases, that means quality of life also increases. That means per capita income equal to, we discussed in previous class also, per capita income equal to national income divided by total population. We get the per capita income by dividing national income with the population of that country. Per capita income is nothing but per head income per annum, or average income. We get the per capita income by dividing national income with the total population. Whenever the size of the national income is high, national income size greater than population growth rate. The growth rate of national income is more than growth rate of population, the per capita income increases. Whenever the size of the rate of the per capita income increases, automatically it leads to the saving ratio increases. The increasing the saving ratio to the GDP leads to the capital formation, it leads to the investment. At the same time, better quality of life of the people. The size of the income increases, people may get, they can satisfy their minimum needs by spending money with this high per capita income. We compare with the per capita income of developed countries with the developing country like India and China. In general, high income countries per capita income is in terms of purchasing power parity, GNI purchasing power parity 37760 in US dollars. High income countries per capita income, that means developed countries per capita income. High income countries comes under the category of developed countries. High income countries per capita income 37760. But in the case of India, what is the per capita income India? That means only 3840. And per capita income of China, per capita income of China, that means 9210 US dollars, basis of purchasing power parity in terms of US American dollars. Okay, when compared to the upper middle income countries also, upper middle income countries per capita income, upper middle income countries per capita income is 10740, but lower middle income countries per capita income is okay, 3912. Okay, if we compare India, where we are under the category of lower middle income countries, because due to this low per capita income, the quality of life, standard of living conditions of the people in the developing countries like India is very less, low quality. We can understand with this okay, the size of per capita income with purchasing power parity. That means the population, okay, one by one interlinking with this one, demographic character features, the size of population is very high, the density of population also very high, it leads to the unemployment. Majority of the people in our country depending on agriculture sector, they are unable to get the continuous employment, and income levels are very poor from this agriculture sector, the low productivity, the low size of the income from agriculture sector, unemployment, agriculture sector, okay, one by one, okay, these are the interlinking. Demographic character features, high population, it puts pressure on natural resources, it leads to the unemployment ratio, we are unable to provide the employment to the each and everyone, the size of the population increases when compared to the developed countries, the growth rate of population is very high when compared to the developed countries. That means demographic character features, predominance of agriculture sector, high density of population, because these three are interlinked, it leads to the unemployment. Whenever there is a unemployment, it leads to the poverty. Poverty means they are unable to get the minimum needs to satisfy, minimum needs to satisfy their wants, because these are the general character features of developing country. That's why what we can conclude that the per capita income of the developing countries is very low when compared to the developed countries. High income per capita income, high income countries per capita $3776 when compared to the developing countries like India only $3840, China $39210. India comes under the category of lower middle income countries. Though there is a growth rate in the economy, due to this high size of the population, we are unable to get the high per capita income. So low per capita income is the one of the important character features of developing economy like India. So next one, scarcity of capital. In the case of developed countries, what we discussed, the capital formation is very high, the abundance of capital in the case of developed countries. But what about the developing economies? The capital, scarcity of capital is one of the important character feature of scarcity of capital, one of the important character features of developing countries like India. So scarcity of capital, why there is a low capital formation? Because unemployment is very high, poverty are very high, these people are unable to put their money in the saving ratio is less. Whenever there is a saving ratio is less, okay, it is very difficult to capital formation, less capital formation, scarcity of capital. As per the 2012 reports, only 27.9% savings to the saving ratio to the GDP. Okay, in our GDP, only 27.9% are saving ratio. But at the same, in the case of 1990, okay, as per purchasing power parity, 20% to the GDP. But in the case of developing countries, it is very high, the capital formation is very high. So due to this low capital formation, that means low saving ratio, because high population, low level of income to the people, low level of income of the people, low level of income of the people in the developing economy, okay, the capital formation is very low. So, scarcity of capital, due to this scarcity of capital, we are unable to utilize the natural resources properly. We are unable to implement the advanced technology in different institutions, in different sectors. That is why majority of the people in our country still depend on, okay, agriculture sector for their livelihood. Okay, agriculture sector contribute more employment in our country when compared to the developed countries. But in the case of developed countries, agriculture sector role is very low in providing employment. Their existing industrial and service sector played a vital role in providing employment to the people. Very few percent, very low percent of the population depending on agriculture sector in the case of developed countries. But in the case of developing economy, okay, majority people are from agriculture sector. Their saving ratio is very low and population pressure is very high. That is why, okay, they are unable to save more money. Okay, the saving ratio is very less. Whenever there is a saving ratio is very less, it is very less capital formation. Saving ratio related to the capital accumulation of saving leads to the capital formation. Whenever there is a high size of capital formation, it is very easy to put their investment and utilization of resources, implementation of advanced technology. So, that is why we can say the capital formation is very low in the case of developing countries. That means scarcity of capital is one of the another important character features of developing economy like India. Another important character feature is okay, demographic characteristic. Demographic character means the size of the population. Demographic characteristic. Another important character feature of developing economies like India, the size of the population is very high. Size and growth rate of population, very high in the case of developing countries when compared to the developed countries. Okay, as per 2011 census report, India's population 1210 millions or 121 crores. This high size of population put pressure on natural resources, but we are unable to utilize this natural resources and human resources, natural resources properly. Pressure on natural resources and not proper utilization of human resources also. Human resources due to illiteracy, technical backwardness and malnutrition, a lack of sufficient capacity, a stamina, not proper utilization of human resources. So, these are the another important character features of developing economy like India. Demographic factor, which means when compared to the developed country, the size of the population is very high, growth rate of population is very high. This growth rate of population leads to population explosion. Due to this population explosion, we are unable to provide the sufficient facilities to the people, lack of scarcity of capital also, lack of proper utilization of natural resources also. This leads to the malnutrition and illiteracy, okay, low lack of proper stamina capacity of the people. So, another important character features of this developing countries is demographic characteristic. It means the size of the population is very high when compared to the developed countries. So this is the another important character features of developing economy. Okay, so this means the huge population put pressure on natural resources, which resulted in this high population automatically leads to the unemployment and poverty. Whenever there is a poverty, we can understand the situations of the people. That means unable to get minimum needs of the people, minimum needs. Okay, it leads to the malnutrition. These are another important character features of developing economic demographic character. Whenever there is a high size of the population, more population, the density of population also very high. Density means the total population per square kilometer area. What is density? High density of population. High density of population is another important character. High density of population. Here population density. Density means population per square kilometers. Population per, that means the number of population, number of people living in the square kilometer area. Per square kilometer area we can call density of population. So the size of the population is very high. There is no scope in increasing the size of the land, size of the natural resources, that is land. Okay, that means the density of population is very high. Whenever there is a high density of population, it is very difficult to provide the basic minimum amenities to the people due to lack of sufficient funds to the government economy. Okay, that means the density of India as per 2011 census is 382 members, 382 person per square kilometers. Okay, but in the case of China, it is 145. Okay, developed economies like USA, it is only 33. But in the case of Canada, it is 4 only. Okay, observe the developing countries density of population. The developed countries density of population is very low when compared to the developing countries density of population. Due to this high density of population, it is very difficult to the people to get minimum amenities, sufficient needs to satisfy their wants. That's why high density of population also one of the another important character features of developing economy like India. Okay, next another one. Okay, unemployment. Unemployment is also one of the important feature of developing economy. Unemployment, scarcity of capital, demographic character features, high incidence of population. Another important is unemployment. Unemployment is another important character features of developing economy. High population, we discussed high population, high density of population, high population leads to the unemployment. Why? Majority of the unemployment ratio. Another important is poverty. Unemployment is very high in the case of developing countries because in our developing economy, majority of the people depending on agriculture sector. Agriculture sector unable to provide the employment throughout the year to the all the sections of the people in the country. But in the case of developed countries, the size of the population is very low, very less, and density of population is less. Majority of the people, that means rapid growing sectors in the developed countries is industrial sector and service sector. Industrial sector and service sector. This industrial sector or tertiary or service sector played a vital role in the case of developed countries, okay, by providing employment. But in the case of developing countries, the growth of industrial sector and service sector is very low, okay. Less growth of slow growth of industrial sector and service sector in the developing economies leads to the more or high unemployment. Majority of the people in the developing economy, okay, depends on agriculture sector for their livelihood. Okay, still now, okay, 51% of the population in our country, okay, depends on agriculture sector for their livelihood. But industrial sector, service sector unable to absorb the surplus or excess labor from the other sector, agriculture sector, due to the slow growth of industrial sector and service sector in the developing economy. The scarcity of capital is one of the reason for this slow growth of industrial and service sector in the developing economy. But what we observed, high rate of unemployment in the developing economy like India due to this size of the population, density of population, slow growth of industrial and service sector, and illiteracy of the people, illiteracy and low technical knowledge or backwardness of technical knowledge, low technical knowledge. So another important reasons of the people, okay, this leads to the unemployment in the developing economy. Okay. Unemployment is also one of the important characteristic features of developing economy. Next, high incidence of poverty. This unemployment leads to the poverty. What is poverty? Poverty is a situation. It is a situation. Okay, the people who are unable to get the minimum needs to satisfy their wants. High incidence of poverty. High incidence of poverty is also another important characteristic feature of high incidence of poverty is also another important characteristic features of developing economy. Okay, what we observed, okay, poverty means majority of the people BPL category, below poverty line, below poverty line. What is poverty line? It is a line, minimum need of money the people to satisfy their minimum needs. That means poverty line is a line where there is a people able to put some expenditure to satisfy their wants. That means it's a money. That means monthly per capita consumption expenditure per head. Okay, in the case of rural areas, okay, 673, but in the case of urban areas 860. This is the poverty line. That means this minimum consumption expenditure to satisfy their wants. Okay, in the case of rural areas 673 rupees, 673. The people who are unable to spend that much of money, that is 673 rupees per monthly per capita consumption expenditure in the case of rural areas. The people who are unable to spend this much of money comes under the BPL category in the case of rural areas as per the experts reports in our country. Okay, poverty, to estimate the poverty line, okay, there are different experts groups are there. Okay, planning commission is there, Tendulkar committee is there. As per the experts committee recommendations, in the rural areas, the people who are unable to spend that much of 673 rupees to satisfy their needs per month, okay, they comes under the BPL category, that is the poverty line in the case of rural areas. But in the case of urban areas, okay, 860 rupees monthly per capita consumption expenditure. The people who are unable to spend that much of money in the case of urban areas comes under the BPL category. So, what is the percentage of poverty in our country as per 2009-2010 reports is 29.8% of the people under the BPL category in our country. That means high population, high unemployment leads to the poverty. Poverty is a situation. In this situation, the people who are unable to get the minimum needs of food, cloth, shelter, okay, best quality of water and other facilities which are essential to lead the decent life, to lead the dignified life. Okay, what are the minimum amenities which are essential? The people who are unable to get that much of minimum amenities, facilities to lead the decent and dignified life, they comes under the category of BPL category, below poverty line. So that's why the incidence of poverty is very high in the case of developing country when compared to the developed countries. The poverty ratio is very low in the developed countries because there the significance and predominance of agriculture sector is very low. That means majority of the people in the developed countries, okay, get their employment, their existence in the industrial sector and service sector. This industrial and service sector played a vital role, an important role in the developed countries. These two sectors able to provide more employment in the case of developed countries. But in the case of developing countries like India, majority of the people are in the agriculture sector, high size of the population, high incidence of density of population leads to the unemployment. This unemployment automatically leads to the poverty. So that means high rate of poverty, high incidence. Poverty is also one of the another important characteristic features of developing country like India. When compared to the developed countries, the poverty ratio is very high in the case of developing countries. The poverty ratio is very low in the case of developed countries. So